Here's a tiny sneak peek of my Santa cookie jar, part 2. Part 1 can be seen right here. Go check it out. This Santa cookie jar might be the sweetest craft I've done lately, and that's without the cookies even being inside yet. This is part 2 of my Santa project. He was meant to be a little shelf sitter bust, but I had other plans for him. That being said, some of my best laid plans went awry in this project, but in the end, they turned out beautifully. Here I was trying my foolproof method of gluing B7000 for the permanent hold and hot glue for a quick grab on this lid made a fool out of me. The lid is metal and the insert is plastic, and the components weren't jiving together. So in the end, off camera, I ended up drilling out the hole on the bottom of the Santa. And I did that off camera once the project was pretty much complete. Voila, Santa was attached and quite well. Success! He's good and sturdy now. And you'll see him sitting upright on the top of that canister at the end of this video. I had a holly leaf embellishment in my Christmas stash, and I had a bell that I just ran a thin ribbon up through the bell and in through the holly leaf. I simply tied it to Santa's neck for a little Christmas pizzazz using one of my silicone molds. Helped me keep Santa from rolling around while I tied that bow in place. That's a little trick I came up with. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? And later I added a little piece of bling to the center for a little extra sparkle. Next, I took this fancy little plaque casting that I made with Formflex compound with my newest mold from IOD. I love how intricate it is, and I just think it made the cookie jar so much more special. Now, here I went in with Waverly water-based dark wax, and I completely covered the little placket. I wanted all of the white to be gone, and I wanted that stain to be deep down into all the little nooks and crannies. Once it was completely covered, I took a baby wipe and I wiped it back, making all the dark wax in the nooks and crannies stay and leaving the rest of the piece with a lighter antiquing effect. The more I wiped it back, the prettier it got. Just look at all the gorgeous detail. Isn't it pretty? Tell me in the comments, is antiquing your vibe? If not, what color would you have made that plaque? And while you're there, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I kept wiping the center back because I wanted it a little bit lighter because I'm going to add a monogram in the center and I wanted it to pop. Next, I just gave it a quick dry so that I could apply it to the jar. Love, love it. Now I wanted to put the plaquette right in the center of the jar, so I pulled out my Titebond Quick and Thick and I took my silicone mold and centered the jar where the two seams on each side were even. Once I got that straight, I got my Titebond Quick and Thick and poured it onto the back of the plaquette and smoothed it out with my finger in a thin coat so it wouldn't ooze out onto the glass. Now Titebond comes out white and it turns clear, so even if it did, it wouldn't be too noticeable. But I'm a little cray-cray about these things, so I keep a thin coat on it to keep it from happening as much as possible. Once I get it positioned, I tape it down with a bit of painter's tape on each end I got from the Dollar Tree, just until it starts to take hold, and that happens rather quick. Hence, the quick and thick part of Titebond Quick and Thick. While that's drying, I grab one of my skinniest script liner brushes from Essential Stencil, my favorite brushes ever, so I can paint a little fancy gold monogram on the placket. Did you guess the gold monogram would be SC for Santa Claus? So he knows these treats are just for him, see? And rest assured, they're going to be special come Christmas Eve. Now, remember what I was saying about those best laid plans? Here's another one. And trust me, in the crafting world, we learn to pivot. The candy canes truly are cute and vintage looking. However, once I got them all vintaged up, I wasn't happy with the look and ended up adding another embellishment to the jar. I'll still lay them out as kind of a coaster to be used for hot cocoa and such because I think they're perfect to be used with the jar, just not on it. I'm calling this designer's prerogative. So I simply inked the back with some Tim Holtz vintage photo ink to give the back a vintage vibe. And next I simply sandwiched them between the two pieces of clear vinyl I got on a big roll from the Dollar Tree. Just laying them out flat here, face down. And once I got them face down, I flipped the vinyl and pressed it down to stick it to itself. Now, I know these coasters won't be heat proof to protect a table, but they will keep condensation or drips from hot cocoa off a glass top table or a countertop. So for that, I'll consider them as such. Now, once the images were sandwiched between the vinyl, I simply cut around them. I left about a 1/16 of an inch all around the coasters. And in the end, off camera, I did take a paper rounder and round the corners. And now that Santa's monogram is dry, I'm going to go over it with one more coat of the gold to just make it really pop. We want to make sure Santa sees it and he knows that this is for him. Next, of course, I give it a quick dry. Carefully peel off the painter's tape, and with a box cutter blade, I'm just going to scrape off any tiny bits of residual glue that might have oozed out here and there. There we go. Perfect. Next, I add a creamy vintage looking lace ribbon as a belly band around the cookie jar. Now, to do this, I simply cut two small semicircles at each of the ends of the ribbon, so it would lay perfectly with the shape of the placket, and that worked out really great. I used a little bit of fabric tack to adhere the lace onto the jar, just in about 4 spots, little stations of glue, so that it wouldn't sag. And yes, I could have put the lace on first and put the placket on over the lace, but I like the look of it laying flat and directly onto the glass. Once the lace is on the glass, I give it a quick dry to make sure it's going to hold up well. And see here, I'm going to add those little candy cane cards inside the belly band of the jar. And as I said, ultimately I ended up not keeping them there, but that's okay. You're going to see in the end it all worked out fine. Now here I decided the lid needed a little extra love, so I used a few of my Essential Stencil rub-on transfers with these adorable candy cane cookies. They look perfect for the vintage vibe, and they're so easy to apply. You just remove the backing, stick it down to your surface, and use a stick, a card, or a rub-on tool to adhere it. Works perfectly every time. I only use 3 of them, and they're so sweet, pun intended. And now the project's pretty much complete, all but the attaching of the Santa with the handle screw from the underside and the surprise element that I added at the end. Okay, I just can't wait for the surprise. I'll tell you what it is if you promise me you'll tell me what you think about the surprise at the end of this video. In the end, the surprise element I added was a velvet burgundy ribbon around the jar lid with jingle bells. It's designed so every time Santa sneaks a cookie, I'm gonna hear it. Jingle, jingle, jingle. This was such a fun project. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it. Okay, now get ready for the big reveal at the end of this video. Don't forget to tell me what you think. Thanks so much for joining me in my craft studio today, friends. Y'all are just the best. Merry Christmas in July. Won't Santa be surprised when he comes on Christmas Eve and finds his very own monogrammed cookie jar filled with all the treats that he loves so dearly? Thank you, Santa. We love you.